Well, listen, if you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
The problem is that you just ramble on and on when you have nothing important to say. The words come in a continuous, unending flood. Because they are so cut off from the great mass of Americans, the voters do not support the disgusting women on The View. They ought to think about using independent media to spread their message, to be honest. For years, Whoopi Goldberg ruled over The View, sitting at the top like a king or queen, interrupting visitors, enforcing her beliefs as gospel, and presenting them as fact. Her strict reign over daytime TV, however, suddenly broke down in front of us, all because of Karoline Leavitt. No one anticipated it. In keeping with the show's left-leaning agenda, the program began with the typical panel of heads nodding, smug laughs, and eye rolls.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Consistently confident, Whoopi sat back, poised to dominate another discussion. Subsequently, the subject of wokeness was raised, a phrase that The View essentially worships and defends, as though it were the cornerstone of their reality. Sincerely, it sort of is that way. Whoopi took the first shot with her signature sneer on her face, feeling unstoppable. The aggressive statement, "Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job," was directed at Karoline. In an instant, the whole atmosphere in the room transformed. The crowd became tense. In her chair, even Joy Behar, who made a living by making fun of conservatives,
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good.
As one may anticipate, Whoopi's following words are predictable and grating. You would think that after hosting for so long, she would be a little more inventive in her jokes. No, yet here we are. See what she has in store for us this time.
In a statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you. Is everything rigged?
No, it's their MO. That's what they do. Rachel Maddow said last week, she's like, if the election is lost, it was rigged. If there's a debate, then the moderators are probably biased and they're prejudiced against me.
The anxiety in the air was palpable. Everyone readied himself for the next move. To put it simply, Whoopi was unprepared for the reaction she was going to receive. This went beyond a straightforward argument or lighthearted back and forth. By discounting all Karoline had worked for as merely a result of the very philosophy she despised, Whoopi Goldberg was attacking her entire career, her intelligence, and her hard ethic. It was contemptuous, patronizing, and intended to totally denigrate. However, the audience clapped as if they were automatically responding to the blatant insult. Some even laughed. However, there was a noticeable strain in the air, a faint uneasiness that suggested they were aware that Whoopi had gone too far, but weren't sure they could admit it. But Karoline didn't flinch. She didn't fumble or look for a way out. She didn't rush to defend herself or make a quick retort. No, she took a far more potent action. She grinned, knowing and slow. "Oh, you just made a big mistake," the smile stated. It was neither haughty nor arrogant. It was the smile of someone who knew they had the facts, the proof, and the poise to completely change the course of events. And she did just that, with an unwavering serenity that was almost disturbing. The audience has never seen anything like this before. Incidentally, if you're enjoying this epic battle, please like and subscribe, as we're going to delve even further into this event that will never be forgotten. Karoline began with hard statistics, icy, indisputable figures that couldn't be dismissed with a dismissive wave of the hand or a snarky comment. She presented government spending reports, showing how taxpayer funds were being used for absurdly woke programs, such as gender studies in Guatemala, Sesame Street adaptations intended to export American social activism abroad, and a host of other controversial projects that raised more questions than they did answers. She made the crucial connections, showing how wokeness had
most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world.
She's incredibly articulate, isn't she? It's honestly baffling that the hosts on The View chose to mock her instead of supporting another woman. It really does reveal a lot about their underlying agenda. Let's see how this plays out. I'm sure Karoline's about to drop some more truth that will be hard for them to ignore.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
The woman was suddenly on the defensive after establishing her career by controlling conversations, silencing conservative viewpoints, and pushing through touchy subjects. With her hands wandering as though they were looking for something to grasp. Whoopi shifted in her seat, her typical smirk gone. She was accustomed to visitors straining to keep up with her rapid-fire retorts. This time, however, the roles had been reversed. She couldn't stop herself from clapping back and trying to change the subject to her advantage. She wasn't getting a chance from Karoline. And everyone watching realized, for the first time in a long time, that Whoopi Goldberg had put herself in a difficult situation and that there was no simple solution. Her mouth opened, then closed. Nothing came out when I opened it again. The words would simply not come. Normally quick to applaud her, the audience sat for a moment in awkward quiet. Not even the most devoted viewers of The View knew how to respond. The room's energy had changed. And for once, nobody knew whether to clap, laugh, or simply wait for Whoopi to say something, anything, to bring everything under control. The camera team paused as well. Should they focus on Whoopi's startled face to show her realizing she had imprisoned herself, or switch to an ad and see whether they notice? Whoopi, who is normally so ready to laugh or make a dismissive gesture, sat rigidly in her chair, as if she wanted to blend in with it. She had stepped into a trap, and there was no way out of it. The actual query that Karoline had raised is as follows. If diversity and inclusivity are the true goals of wokeness, then why are conservative women the targets of attacks? When someone doesn't share their beliefs, why do people who advocate for tolerance become aggressive? Whoopi Goldberg knew then that she had no chance of recovery, no scathing response, no clever comment to reverse the situation. Everyone could feel the silence growing longer. Joy Behar, in a desperate attempt to defuse the situation, rushed in and forced out a nervous—
Well, you know, listen, if you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Right.
That's what you hear.
Yeah.
When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say.
Joke. But it was already too late. There was something Whoopi had never done before. On live TV, she had fallen apart entirely. She is really well-spoken, isn't she? To be honest, it's incomprehensible that The View hosts opted to make fun of her rather than stand for another lady. It reveals a great deal about their hidden agenda. Let's watch how this develops. I have no doubt that Karoline will soon reveal more information that will be difficult for them to ignore.
They talk at you, not to you, and that's what she was doing, and she was doing it And it's not new.
No.
But everybody's hip to you all now.
Yeah.
And we are anticipating that you are not prepared. Because you keep saying you going and you preparing when you're on the trail.
The woman was suddenly on the defensive after establishing her career by controlling conversations, silencing conservative viewpoints, and pushing through touchy subjects. With her hands wandering as though they were looking for something to grasp. Whoopi shifted in her seat, her typical smirk gone. She was accustomed to visitors straining to keep up with her rapid-fire retorts. This time, however, the roles had been reversed. She couldn't stop herself from clapping back and trying to change the subject to her advantage. She wasn't getting a chance from Karoline. And everyone watching realized, for the first time in a long time, that Whoopi Goldberg had put herself in a difficult situation and that there was no simple solution. Her mouth opened, then closed. Nothing came out when I opened it again. The words would simply not come. Normally quick to applaud her, the audience sat for a moment in awkward quiet. Not even the most devoted viewers of The View knew how to respond. The room's energy had changed. And for once, nobody knew whether to clap, laugh, or simply wait for Whoopi to say something, anything, to bring everything under control. The camera team paused as well. Should they focus on Whoopi's startled face to show her realizing she had imprisoned herself, or switch to an ad and see whether they notice? Whoopi, who is normally so ready to laugh or make a dismissive gesture, sat rigidly in her chair, as if she wanted to blend in with it. She had stepped into a trap, and there was no way out of it. The act
that you saw live on this program yesterday. Joy Behar stirring the pot of controversy after saying this about Karoline.
She's probably been putting there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Do you want to take this?
So you cannot be attractive and smart. I will try to give Joy the benefit, and oh, thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing. Because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
Isn't it difficult to watch? Her arguments seem so juvenile and contemptuous, especially when confronted with facts that are difficult for her to refute. You have to ask yourself how someone like her maintains such a powerful voice and fan base. Seeing someone who so obviously lacks
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt worked, I mean, she went to St. Anselm College, she worked for WMUR
Ran
TV.
for Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25, put out a very good campaign.
And it went crazy on the internet. Oh, the internet. Reaction videos, memes, and never-ending discussion. Within minutes, social media was rehashing Whoopi's shocked response repeatedly. It gets much more crazy from here. By running her mouth, Whoopi had previously gotten herself into trouble. Over time, she has transformed The View and
She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Well, heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives an... And this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job.
ABC purposefully planned the assault on Carrie Underwood to increase ratings, according to leaked emails. It was a deliberate slander campaign intended to stir up controversy, provoke indignation, and maintain The View's popularity, not an unintentional lapse. The industry was rocked when the truth came to light. After having to make a huge, undisclosed settlement, ABC executives moved into full damage control. Rumors started to circulate behind the scenes. Was The View really worth the bother? These days, Elon Musk appeared just when they believed the storm had gone. Whoopi and the host propagated untrue allegations on Twitter's policies under Musk's control for months, painting Musk as a dangerous individual. Musk was not going to accept that. He sued. The View was suddenly back in crisis mode. Once devoted to the program, the advertisers began to distance themselves from the ongoing controversies. As the program's standing as a ratings goldmine deteriorated, major sponsors began to wonder if the risk was worth it. The View's fractures deepened as the lawsuits mounted. Whoopi Goldberg's once unstoppable might was now disintegrating.
Yeah. I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation.
Karoline is the one who is actually speaking out, even though she is talking in circles. Here she is the hero, resisting everything.
The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our...
Goldberg's tenure at The View ended abruptly. Her confrontation with Karoline Leavitt, which revealed her frailty on live television, was the last straw after years of controlling the show and stifling dissenting opinions. ABC attempted to portray it as a win for Whoopi, but it was obvious that she had been fired. As devoted viewers started to doubt the show's future and advertisers withdrew their support, the network rushed to contain the damage. Whoopi's departure puts The View at a crucial juncture. Will they eventually take a different approach, or will they bring in someone like her to keep things as they are? Is this the start of the show's demise?